In this update, we've got a powerful blizzard unfolding across the upper Midwest. Further to the south within the warm sector, we've got widespread severe storms and even tornado watches in place. Then we're watching true Arctic air entering the US, and that looks to plunge all the way down into Mexico. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. This channel is up to 227,000 subscribers. I put out a lot of content, in fact, daily updates. So if you are new, hit the subscribe button and follow throughout the 2024 year. So let's really delve into this, because we got a lot to talk about. This is the hazard map update, and this is about as packed as you're ever going to see it. We've got a lot of colors on the map, folks. Widespread winter storm warnings across the Cascades. We're looking at feet of snow for them. Then further to the south, that colder air plunged all the way down into Tucson this morning. Then all the widespread wind advisories as the winds, you can probably hear it outside your window across a good part of the southern plains and into the southeast. We've got this rapidly deepening low pressure center. Then that produced to the north, we've got winter storm warnings and blizzard warnings unfolding across the upper Midwest. Then flood watches across the East Coast. And then we've got the Arctic cold with wind chill advisories already in place. And that just looks to continue plunging southbound. So, but right now, we still have the warm sector to talk about, and that includes some tornado potential. We've already seen several warnings unfold, and I think this will just continue throughout the daytime across. This is the tornado watch that's now in effect between now and 11 o'clock this morning through the Shreveport region, down here into Monroe, into Jackson, back into Meridian, up here into Greenville, into Columbus, up here towards Toledo, Tupelo region, into Pine Bluff, and then all the way to the north into the Memphis region. This would likely get extended throughout the daytime, going into portions of the southeast. But look at the Arctic cold that's coming in the US. These are actual temperatures this morning, almost 30 below zero up there in Montana, and those negative numbers have already entered portions of Nebraska, and that only will continue as we have yet another second, even stronger surge that will be moving in on Sunday, and that's the surge that will promise to pull all the Arctic air all the way down actually into Mexico. So look at the snowpack. This is way different from what we saw during that Christmas time. So we've done a lot of homework between the Christmas and now with a renewed snowpack across the north, all through Canada and that blue area. And then we've got the Arctic cold that will be moving over this snowpack. That is one of the reasons why this Arctic cold will be as cold as it is going to be all the way down into the deep south. But right now, this is a powerful low-level jet, and this is when it turns northward. It negatively tilted. That's why the winds are really starting to maximize, and the air is splitting at the lower levels. That's why we've got some tornadoes unfolding across the south, but then we got a powerful blizzard unfolding across the upper Midwest. Here's some of the snow that just took place over the last 72 hours. So we've already seen some snow across this region through Iowa, the same area that's getting hit right now. They already had upwards to 8 to 10 inches, if not close to a foot. Some places in Iowa had 15 inches just with the last snowstorm. So now we've got more snow that will be, inundating these same areas, piling up that snowpack across the upper Midwest. But look at the winds this morning. These are fierce across the central and eastern 2/3 of the US. That's why we've got those just widespread wind advisories unfolding, and I think they only continue to ramp up throughout the day, approaching that 50, 60, even some upwards to 70 miles an hour is likely not out of the question, as that low pressure center will be continuing to deepen going into the day tomorrow. So this is a longer duration event. It's easily going to last another 24 to possibly up to 36 more hours, as the snow will be continuing to crank across the north. So let's look at this, because we've already seen several inches that's already fallen And the changeover in Chicago, I was seeing some of the pictures. It is coming down hard there, and it's a heavy, wet snow. And that's the problem with this snow. It's going to be heavy wet. And then in the Chicago region, one of the concerns is they're comparing it back to that December 15th, 1987 storm, and they called it the heart attack storm because it's the same dynamic storm. It's kind of a wetter storm. It's a heavy storm. So this is a dangerous storm, and they're looking to get at least over a foot of snow, if not more, across this region up into the Chicago region. So those suburbs across Chicago, in and around the Milwaukee region, back into Iowa and heading into Wisconsin, the snow is really going to start to be coming down at 1-2 inches per hour. And then further to the south, you're going to have to be dealing with those severe storms, as these will be racing across. These are flying at 50 and 60 miles an hour as this low pressure will continue to rapidly deepen. And now we're talking into tonight, it's down to a 980 millibar low pressure. And that's the problem with it too. It starts to slow down, which will amp up the snowfall totals across Michigan through Wisconsin as well as into Iowa. And then you get the wraparound right around the lake effect type snow too. And just the Chicago region back into Milwaukee, as it's going to be setting the stage as an all rainmaker up the East Coast. And they've got those flood watches in place. And that's the last thing you need up there in the East Coast, because you've been inundated lately with all the heavy rain. But further to the northwest of you, that's where the snow is going to be, and it continuing to crank even into the overnight hours tonight, heading into the wee hours of the morning, down to a 900 and low 70 range, as that low pressure center will be over Michigan by then. And then you get all the cold side, the wraparound side, as it's starting to feel the effects of that true Arctic air that will be entering the picture. And it's just going to be all snow, and it's likely going to be a little bit of a colder snow on the second half of this storm. So it transfers to not a wetter snow, but then a kind of a more compact snow, as this will be continuing to come down at 1 to 2 inches per hour across this region. And that just continues even into Saturday morning. So this is a longer duration event. It's already been snowing for a couple hours there, and this will continue all day long, all night long, and then even into portions for tomorrow, as the snow will be continuing to crank up into the upper Midwest. But here's the breakdown over for the precipitation for the next 48 hours. So it's kind of split, right? So you got the main dynamic system that we're highlighting with the low pressure center. You got the severe storms further to the south. So you got a lot of precipitation, especially up here in northern portions of New Jersey, up here into Connecticut, into Rhode Island. I know Hartford's the last thing they need is more rain, but look at the flooding rains. That's another 2 to 4 inches will likely unfold across those regions over just the next 48 hours. But look at all the water content that's going to be available. That's easily 1 to 2 inches, if not upwards to 3 inches of just liquid. So you guess that goes to show you how much snowfall potential this actually has with this system. And looking at this, the latest high resolution guidance, this is adding to these totals. Some of these areas I've already picked up several inches of snow. This is additional snow that you could likely see across Iowa, a good another 6 to 10 inches. But once you get up into northern Illinois, that's when those totals go over a foot, and possibly even some 18-inch. Notice the higher totals right along the lake here, that some of that's going to be lake enhanced effect snowfall. But nonetheless, this is going to be a bona fide snowstorm and just an all out blizzard across northern Illinois, northern Indiana, into Michigan, up here into Wisconsin, through the upper Great Lakes, as that will be starting to finally wind itself down as you get deeper into that Saturday, Sunday time frame. But then we talk about the Arctic air, because on the back side of that storm, then you've got the true Arctic air that will be entering the picture by Sunday morning, with those below 30 degrees below zero up there into Alberta, and those continues into Montana. The negative numbers swing into Iowa. All that snow is going to be on the ground. That's going to help insulate the ground, so to keep it colder, and then drop those temperatures to single digits into Oklahoma. And then you got the 20s starting to show up across a good part of Texas into Arkansas, and that will be the leading edge of that Arctic air. Then we've got a short wave that will be diving southbound. So this is another system. It's not going to be nearly as dynamic as the one we talked about, but it's going to be for those areas further to the south. And this is 24 hours behind the Arctic air. So the Arctic air is already going to be in place. Then you've got this short wave coming out of the Rockies that's going to move across Oklahoma into Arkansas, into Louisiana, and a good part of Texas. And looking at the latest high resolution ensemble means, I'm showing you the SREF because this is an ensemble mean. This is kind of the breakdown, a kind of a summary of some of the high resolution guidances of what could unfold. So those areas across Oklahoma and Arkansas into portions of, back into Missouri here, that's going to be that second flank, that second shortwave that will be moving in. And it's likely going to be all snow for your areas because all layers of the atmosphere are going to be cold enough, even in that deep, dense, shallow, cold Arctic air mass. But the further south you get, it's going to be more likely that we're going to be getting that changeover because you're still going to have that warmer air aloft further south across North Texas and to Central Texas. This could be all sleet and a mixed precipitation of freezing rain within that area. And the southern Arkansas here and the northern Louisiana, getting in even into portions of Mississippi here, and then even further to the south of there, we could be looking at freezing rain for those areas across the hill country, maybe even Conroe, Huntsville, back into the Austin region, and even maybe as far south as San Antonio. So what I'm looking for over the weekend with that short wave, I'm looking for winter weather advisories to start to break out across Oklahoma, into Arkansas, into Louisiana, and much of Texas. And further to the north you live towards the Red River, it should be all snow with that particular setup. But once you get below into, say, North Texas and further south, then it's going to be transferring over into more of a wintry mix type setup, a combination of sleet and freezing rain. And then the further south from there, maybe in the hill country back into the Austin region, we're not talking like a lot of a higher precipitation, but it doesn't take much precipitation across those regions when temperatures are in the 20s and going into the teens and even single digits at night for much of Texas and Oklahoma. So this is not going to melt. It's going to be treacherous travel for all those areas across the deep south in the southern plains and throughout Oklahoma and probably much of Texas heading into Sunday night, Monday timeframe, as the Arctic air will continue to plunge southbound. So that low pressure center by Tuesday, that will likely going to be lift up across these areas into Tennessee, through Kentucky, and back into Virginia. But look at that high pressure. That's a 1044 Arctic high pressure going in. And then the Arctic high is a dry air mass, right? So we're going to have a dry air mass on the back side of that. But you're going to have all that precipitation still on the ground, and that's going to help insulate that colder air and will keep it even colder moving further south. So these numbers are likely realistic even all the way down to the deep south, because we've got widespread negative numbers even into Missouri, even into Oklahoma, heading into Illinois where that snow's on the ground, 17 below zero up there in Illinois, into Indiana here. But look at 4 degrees there in Arkansas, even possible single digits with that ice, that sleet, and that little bit of coating on the ground of ice that's obviously not going to melt. That's going to plunge that colder air further south, and it goes all the way to Mexico, folks. I mean, it's kind of hard to get a 26 degree temperature in Brownsville But that's true Arctic air, and Arctic air has a one-way ticket to Mexico, and that's typically where it ends up because there's nothing to stop it because it's deep and it's shallow and it travels faster, and it has been traveling faster than what a lot of the models were able to see just 5 days ago, right? It's going to enter the picture well in advance. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update where I protect you before and after the storm.